Okay. Welcome everyone to our Cheese Tools webinar. Hope you've all had a fantastic day. If you would be so kind as to put in the chat where you are joining us from, because we love to see where you are around the world. And it'd be really lovely to say hello to you in the chat. Also in the chat, please add questions, and we will take questions as we go along, or we'll answer them at the end wherever is appropriate. Oh wow, we've got a US crowd coming in. Becky from Cheshire. Hello, Becky. Fantastic. From Cambridge. Currently in the Alps. Wow. Oh, that's commitment. Vancouver. Fantastic. Fantastic. Love it. Keep them coming. Alison from Cornwall. Anna from Chichester. I nearly couldn't say that. Hello, hello. Tommy from Philadelphia. How exciting. Good morning from New Zealand as well. Whoa, that you must be up really early. Or stayed up dead late. I'm from Canada. Steve from Calgary. Hello, hello, hello. Fantastic. So how this is going to roll, I'm going to introduce you to Tom, who has made this most wonderful display over there in Holland. Hello, Tom. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
And I'm going to introduce you to Katie up there in the corner, who is our technical director and who is going to take questions, anything around the health and safety side of all these tools that we're using, and also demonstrate using the Commander Pro as well, along with Tom. Okay, Tom, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to you to do your magic with your magic tools and tricks.
I have a room full of magic tools over here. Hello, everyone. So my name is Tom. I'm here in Holland at BOSKA headquarters. Yeah, let me give a quick introduction about myself and BOSKA. So I'm Tom. I'm the product developer for BOSKA. So what I do is I design the existing and the new tools for BOSKA. At the moment, a lot of them are designed by my predecessors, but I also have done a lot about them with them. I'm Tom again. I am from close to here. I just moved to Leiden, which is a city near to here, and I work now at BOSKA for, let's say, two and a half years. About that. Next to product developer, I'm also category manager. So I see what's in the assortment, what has to go in or what has to go out. So if you have any tips about what we have to have in our assortment, please let me know. It will be very helpful. And I also do some repairs. So basically everything. And then about BOSKA. BOSKA started in 1896 as a blacksmith. And it was a blacksmith at the local market where a lot of cheese stalls were. And the blacksmith took care of the horseshoes for the horses. But one day they came to him. It was Joop Bos, or Gerard Bos, I mean. And they said, can you help us making something to cut cheese? So that happened. And now, like 26, 27 years later, we have a whole assortment of cheese cutting tools. So it escalated a bit, but I think in a very good way. And that is where we are today at BOSKA. So we are in Bodegraven. And Bodegraven actually has the most cheese stored in the whole of Europe. It was the last time it measured, there was 40 million kilos of cheese here in Bodegraven stored. It's in Gouda where it is made, and in Woerden, and here in Bodegraven it is stored. So that's quite a lot of cheese. So that's it about BOSKA. So who do we have more in this webinar?
Sorry, what did you say, Tom?
So who else do we have in this webinar?
Ah, okay. So, Katie, do you want to unmute? Ah, there
Yes.
she is.
Hello, everybody. I don't have quite the display Tom has. I'm actually in the dairy. I'm the technical director for the Academy of Cheese, so the in-house nerd, really. But I did spend many years as a cheesemonger, and so what I'm mostly going to do this evening is be showing off the Commander Pro, the cheese cutter, and a bit of do's and don'ts and common mistakes and ways to use it in the best possible way in best practice. But if you've got any questions, stick them in the chat. Tom's going to do most of the talking this evening. He's an absolute pro at this. He's as good as his display. But I'll be keeping an eye on the chat as well. So yeah, amazing to see where everybody is from. And yeah, that's on with the show.
Fantastic.
I
Thank you,
should just say I'm
Katie.
going to be on mute most of the time unless I'm talking because there's quite a lot of farm noise this evening. People are being quite loud, so I am going to mute.
Oh, fantastic. We love the sheep. We love the sheep. And for those of you that don't know, I'm Tracy Colley, the Operations Director of the Academy of Cheese, but I'm sure you all know me from all the other webinars. So hello and welcome. And Tom, thank you for such a fantastic introduction to what we're going to do this evening. And we would love for you just to get going and tell us all about these tools and what we should be doing with them.
Yes, okay. So what I always do with webinars is start with the one thing that BOSKA started with, and it's also a really typical Dutch thing. So that will be the Dutch cheese knife. And as we all can see, the Dutch cheese knife is bent, and that's kind of strange because we see a lot of cheesemongers cutting with straight knives like this. But why do we Dutch love this Dutch cheese knife so much? I can tell you. So the Dutch cheese knife is bent, and that is because when you have a bended blade and you will start cutting the cheese, there's only one little point that is touching the cheese. So instead of the straight knife, which touches the cheeses from the left to the right, that will distribute your power. You can engage to your cheese. So because it's bent and only one little point of the knife is touching the cheese, all your force is focused on that one point. And then also with a straight knife, when people start cutting, they will wiggle. And that's what you also do with this knife. So by wiggling, you move that point where the focus of your force is onto. And that makes it really easy to cut through cheeses, way more easy than with a straight knife. Then also, with this knife, we have one cross handle and one length handle. So that is because you hold it like this. And with a cross handle, you can steer your way through the cheese. And with the length handle, you can apply force to the cheese. So this knife makes cutting through hard cheeses a lot more easy. And in Holland, we have a lot of big cheeses. As you can see, a lot of Goudas, almost only Goudas, and we eat it on everything. It's a typical Dutch thing to eat just a piece of bread with cheese on top. That's it. Very boring, actually, but okay, it's Dutch. So these are in different dimensions, but this is the middle one. We also have the big one, and we have the small one, and we have wooden handles and plastic handles. So this is the Dutch cheese knife. It's very, very sharp, so always take care by when you use this. But what if you want to cut different kinds of cheese, like red bacteria cheese, internal blue mold, white mold cheese, hard cheese or soft cheese? So that's why we have developed our HACCP line of knives. So HACCP is the guidelines for food safety to prevent cross-contamination, etc. And we combine those by color and by the shape of the knife for the different kinds of cheese. So I'll start with this one. No, I won't. I will start with this one. So this is a knife and it's very thin, as you can see. And that's because this is the soft cheese knife. for soft Masterclass soft cheeses, as you all know, because you are all an Academy of Cheese expert, I know. So this is for Masterclass soft cheeses, and it has a very thin blade. Also, when you look at it like this, it's very thin, and that's to reduce the contact the knife has with the cheese. Because how more contact the cheese has, the more it will stick to the cheese. So it's a very thin blade, so it slides through the cheese as easy as possible. Then we also have the universal cutter. And as you can see, that's kind of a bit of a strange shape, isn't it? So it has holes in it, it has points, it has a serrated edge instead of just a straight edge. But that is because this is it's called a universal knife for different kinds of cheeses. And when this is solid, you have a lot of knife touching the cheese, and that will stick to the cheese. So when you cut through the cheeses without those holes, it will stick to the cheese, and the cheese will tear apart a little bit. So that's why the holes are here. Then it has a serrated edge, and that is because a universal knife probably doesn't only cut through cheese, but also through packaging. So for example, when you have a Roquefort cheese, it has an aluminium packaging, and you don't want to cut it through the whole packaging. You don't want to remove the packaging because part of the presentation of the cheese. So you have to cut it a little bit before you start cutting the whole cheese, or else it will tear apart, go through the cheese, etc. So you will use a knife to cut aluminium. And that's why this knife has a serrated edge, so it can also cut through packaging. Because when you do cut packaging with a knife that doesn't have a serrated edge, it will get dull very quickly. So that's why.
I have to say, Tom, I think the serrated edge on that one is really useful for the soft cheeses that have the spruce binding. So cheeses like the Vacherin, or something like in the UK we have Rollright cheese, or you have Winnemere or Harbison in the US. So you have your knife that's really great for cutting soft cheese, but you can cut through that spruce so you're not pulling it down through the cheese. Sorry, interrupting your flow, but I use that knife for that particular reason.
Yeah. Well, that is great. It does even more than I thought it did. Please keep adding information if I miss something, because I'm the one who knows about the knives, but you're really the one who knows about how to use it the most. So that's great. I will add it in the future too. Thank you. Yeah, and then we also have the points, and that's for serving or putting something somewhere else. So the points are very easy to pick something up. I don't have a block of cheese right now. You can put it up and you can serve it to your customer or someone else, put it somewhere else. And that's what this is for. Then we have one knife left, and that is this big one. So this one is thicker and it's longer. So this one is really made for the hard cheeses, or the hard, the harder cheeses, or Masterclass like crumbly or hard cheeses. And it's bigger, so you can cut like the small wheels, like Port Salut for thing. You can cut it in one go. But this is not a hard cheese, of course. I know it's a soft cheese. But also because it's bigger, you can cut sometimes a whole cheese in one go. It's a bit tough because it's a straight one. But yeah, so that's why we have 3 different knives for 3 different purposes. Then we have it in 4 colors. Actually 3, because black is not a color. My father always said he was in paint. And he got really angry if I told that was a color. So 3 colors and black. And then we have, why is that? Well, if you have a red mold cheese, white mold cheese, or blue vein cheese, you don't want to mix that up. You really don't want to do that. So that's why we have the blue handles for blue vein cheeses with a blue cutting board, as you can see. We have the white handles for the external white mold cheeses, and the red for washed right, red bacteria cheeses. So you can use them. You don't have to wash your knives in between and keep cutting very fast if you have space for it, of course. And then we also have black. That's just for, let's say, fancy cutting. So if you really want to cut like a fancy pansy, you use this one. Or you use it as a universal one and you cut everything with it. Yeah, so that is about these knives. But what if you want to cut a whole wheel of Parmesan? That's not true. That's fake, actually. But what if you want to cut a whole wheel of Parmesan? Then we have another tool for that. Let me just quickly get this over here. So therefore we have the Parm Set Pro. I will ask my intern to put it in front of the camera some closer.
Hello, intern.
Hello,
Does your intern have a name, Tom?
Yeah,
Danik.
it's Danik.
Hello, Danique. Welcome to our webinar. Look at those beautiful tools.
Yes, so the Parm Set consists of, our Parm Set consists of 4 knives, and it's 2 of the same, which are to the, well, for me, they are to the left. Maybe they're to the right view. Maybe left is right in England, right? So we have 4 knives in the set. And in our opinion, those are the 4 most essential knives to cutting parm. So let me, and we also have put it in a box, a wooden box with nice inscriptions on the front and the back. So this whole box, you can take it with you if you want to. I wouldn't recommend taking it to the airport, but you can take it with you. To some
This is on everybody's Christmas list right now.
Well, that's great. That's very great because it's new and we have very, very good news. We haven't told it through BOSKA, we will this week, but we have won our first IF award for a professional item, and that's this one.
Wow, congratulations.
Also-
Woo!
So we have those 4 knives. Let's start with this one. It's very tight, so, oh yeah, you can give it to me. It's very tight because you don't want them to fall. Let me have this. Thank you. Thank you, Danique. So we have 4 knives. The first one is the scoring knife, and it has a bit of a weird shape. It has a point, and then a piece flat, corner, and flat again. Almost looks like a circuit. You can see it like this. Yes. So why is that? Well, when you want to cut cheeses with a hard rind, you have to score that rind first, because that's the hardest bit of the cheese, like a shield, and you have to pierce that first before you start cutting. So I won't be cutting this real because this is fake and it will actually destroy the knife, I think. But you always start with the scoring knife. So what you do when opening a Parmesan wheel the authentic way, because we also have a machine that does it way more easy, but we also like some authentic tools and authentic skills for really authentic cheesemongers, and that's what it is for. So you start with the scoring knife and you start cutting it all the way around. So you create like a crack all the way around the cheese. After that, you have the line. When you have that line, you can put this away. Then you have 3 other knives, which those 2 are the same. Those are called the Parmesan knives, and those is called the cracking knife. So this is, let's start with this one. This one is way bigger than the rest of them. It has a very sharp tip, and it is sharp on both sides. And in the middle of the knife, it's thick. That is because you want to pierce this knife as deep as you can into the cheese. And as it goes deeper, the knife gets wider and it will push the cheese further apart. Then you have these 2 knives, and those are only sharp on one side. On this side, they're not sharp, but very thick. So this is the thin side and this is the thick side. So you have this line, you start actually with these knives and you put them in and you wiggle them a bit with the sharp side and they go deeper. Then you put it back and you get the thick side more into the cheese. Then you also do it at this side. So you have two knives sticking into the cheese. And then you will add the biggest one to pierce into the scored line as deep as possible. Then you get them out. You will put the cheese the other way around and you will do the same. If you do that correct, eventually the cheese will crack exactly in those lines. You probably have to pierce them multiple times from different sides. But that's how you open up a Parmesan wheel the authentic way. If we have time left in the end, I can also show our Parm Pro, which is a tool that makes it easy and very quick, but that's not authentic, right? So that's how a Parmesan, the authentic way, works. So what's another real authentic tool? Can somebody tell me what another real authentic cheesemonger tool is? Oh, I see Thijs is in the chat. Hello, Thijs. Cheese wire. Yeah, no, we will get to the cheese wire, but I have first meant another one. I maybe have a tip right here.
Oh, here we go. All the different names for it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cheese iron, trier, cheese tester. In Holland, we call it a cheese tester or kaas tester, as we say. So the kaas tester is a real cheesemonger tool, actually for the affineur, to test cheese. And how do you test cheese? Well, I can show you while explaining what it actually does. But then I first have to grab a cheese. And you see all these cheeses over here. So let me take a look at the cheeses. And let me tell you that one of them is real. So which one is real? Please say yes or no. Is it this one? Is it this cheese?
Katie, did he tell you before? I think no.
Foiled.
No, this is not the real one because I can throw it on the ground. You see, no real cheese. So
Why does it bounce?
oh, I have got a cheese over here. Nice white cheese. No, also not real. So which one would it be? This one? Oh, this is the real cheese. I always like to do that because our cheese dummies look real. When people walk in, they say, oh, how do you have so many cheese? You don't even sell cheese. Yeah, indeed, we don't have cheese, but we sell fake cheeses. So back to the cheese iron and the tester. So the iron is like a half moon shape in the length. This one is this long. We also have it longer and shorter for different kinds of cheeses. And what you want to do is pierce into the side of a cheese and then go to the middle of it. And why do you want to go to the middle? Because the cheese tester, which is perfect for the cheese, is the one that can go to the middle of the cheese. Why is that? That's because the middle of the cheese is very different than the outside of the cheese, because a cheese, a round cheese at least, ripens to the middle. So the cheese close to the crust, or not the crust, close to the outside of the cheese, is drier than the inside. And when you test it all the way to the middle, you have every different bit of cheese from one cheese. So you can test everything of the cheese. So let's start. You put it in the side and you stick it to the middle like this. Then you start turning and you create a tunnel, actually. Pull it out. Yeah, there we are. And there we have a nice tester of the cheese. So you can smell it, smell if it's right. This is nettle cheese, Dutch nettle cheese, farmer cheese. Yeah, you can see the texture, you can feel it, smell it, taste it. And what they do sometimes is that they put it back, or they put a sticker on it. And you could say, well, when you buy a cheese and you get a cheese that has a hole in it, or you see that's tested, you don't want that in your store because it already has been tested. But it actually says that the cheese is tested and you have insurance that the cheese is good. So I wouldn't be very upset if I got a cheese with a hole in it because I know for sure that it's good. It has been tested for me. And they also sometimes put it back. Let me just put it back a little bit, but it doesn't work always like this.
We have debates, Katie, when we're judging at how many times you should turn the cheese iron trier cheese tester before you pull it out. Is there a correct way, or does it not really matter?
I think, yeah, exactly what Tom was about to say.
Were you about to say that it depends on the cheese?
Yes.
Ah,
I think what you're trying to do is create enough of a tunnel. I think it's a really nice way of describing it, so that you can pull the core out in one piece. And so, for example, ironing something like a Gouda or a cheddar or a Emmental, you're going to need a few turns.
Yeah.
To loosen it up, something a little softer or a little more crumbly, particularly blue cheeses. And actually, that's a really great use of an iron, is to see the evenness of the bluing inside the cheese. Then the more you turn it, the more you're just going to mush it about and make a mess inside that cheese. I personally always turn it an odd number, but I don't think that means anything at all.
I think I've judged with so many different people over the years, and it's my little game I play to see what they say, because some of the older generation, even older than me, say, oh, only 1.5 turns and that's it. And, so I think it's quite entertaining. I don't know if anybody in the chat has got any views on this. Do put them in if you do. But I think, thank you, you've answered my question very well about the different sorts of cheese. And I would agree, you don't want to be disturbing that beautiful Stilton or that beautiful Roquefort by testing it, turning it too much.
oh, great. Good question. So, yeah, it's like a custom job to every cheese, but that's also what authentic work looks like.
And you have different size triers then, so different lengths. So if you were a grader, constantly grading enormous dimension cheeses.
Yes, I have.
I didn't realize this. That's good.
So at BOSKA we have 3 sizes, actually. So those are those 3, and those that differ not that much. Like this, you can see it.
Yeah.
But they mostly differ in diameter, because that's also when you where you want to watch. If you sometimes you want to have a big test piece, and sometimes a very small one, also depending on the structure of your cheese.
Yeah.
And sometimes you indeed have a very, very long one, but we don't have the very long one actually. But there are indeed different sized cheese testers, different kinds of cheeses.
I have a very good cheese friend, and he collects antique ones. So from way back. So scouts the antique shops for cheese irons, very old. There's some beauties out there. But those look very smart as well.
It's a real authentic tool. So I believe there are very, very old ones. And I think somewhere in this building there's also a very old one. because we get from 1896, so there should be one somewhere. I know we have varial cheese slicers, but I will look for the cheese tester.
Next
Then
time.
we go to the CCP, because we already told you what, we asked you what is a very common cheesemonger's tool, and you said a wire. And how did that develop? Well, I told you about the Dutch cheese knife, and that it is really sharp, and you have to learn working with it. Because if you get it's quite a impressive looking knife. So if you get a new person in your store, or like a working student, which probably won't work there for 20 years, but more for 2 years or something, this could be quite also to get working with, because it takes a bit of practice, and it's very sharp. So there could be another solution, and that's what the founders of BOSKA also thought, and they actually came up with a it's called the Casomat, and it's indeed a wire cutting machine. At first, it was just a wooden plank with a wire on it, so you can pull it through the cheese, and that has developed through the years. So one of those is the CCP. So that's this one, the Cheese Commander Pro. So why is it better to cut with a wire? Can somebody tell me? Why do you prefer cutting with a wire over cutting with a knife? Let's see why. Cleaner cuts, I see. Less resistance. Definitely getting there.
Less surface area,
Less surface area.
less effort. Yeah, fast. Reduced drag, easy to clean up.
Less pressure. Yeah. The thing that I like
Precision.
about
That's
cutting
a
with
big
a
one.
wire is that you can't cut yourself. My hand's still on there. I'm at 10 cuts now, 20 cuts, my hand's still there. So the best thing about cutting with a wire is that you can't cut yourself, because a wire is strong, but not sharp. And that's maybe the best thing. And while it is strong, but not sharp, you still don't have to apply very much pressure to cut a cheese. So that's why we like cutting with a wire. So the Cheese Commander Pro is one of those machines. It has a handle where the wire can twist freely around. It has also a spring mechanism on the bottom, so you can pull it to the back, and that is so you can cut bigger cheeses with a shorter wire. Because if it didn't have a spring, you couldn't get your way around the cheese. Otherwise, the wire would be very long, and you would end up here. And probably when you have a very long wire and you cut through here and you are here with your hand, your colleague is there, and you don't want to get in that area, right? No, you only want to get to yourself. So that's why the spring mechanism helps cutting bigger cheeses with a shorter wire. So you end up only here. The Cheese-O-Matic also has suction cups, so it will stick to your counter. But we also have feet which are anti-skid feet. Yeah, so let's start cutting with the wire. So I have this one over here. And as you can see with the Cheese Commander Pro, I'll firstly put the handle to the front. That is different than cutting with the Cheese-O-Matic. So let me quickly tell a difference between the Cheese-O-Matic and the Cheese Commander Pro. The Cheese-O-Matic has the handle on the front, and the CCP has the handle on the back. To start with, that is because the CCP is really designed for use in foreign countries, and in Holland most of the times we use these 12 kilo Gouda cheeses. That is the thing you see the most in Holland, and those are very big cheeses, and you need both hands to put it on the machine. While with smaller cheeses like this, you can put it on the machine with one hand. This is actually kind of heavy. So, but if you have maybe a Castello or Roquefort, Blue Stilton, you can put it on there with one hand, while the other has the handle. This one is the other way around. So you have both hands to put the cheese on the machine, and you can start cutting. While with this one, you want to release the handle when you're done cutting. So that's a quicker way of working for smaller cheeses. So that's one. So, like I said, wires are strong, not sharp, and they can cut. Therefore, they can cut through cheeses with a consistent texture. So there can't be nuts in it or hard pieces, because it's not sharp. It won't cut through those hard parts, but it will pull them through the cheese. So it's meant for cheeses with consistent textures. Now I have a nettle cheese, so I'm really trying the edge for you. I like to test the extremes. So I got a nettle cheese for you, which actually isn't really a consistent texture, but I think we can handle this. Also, because it's not sharp, you have to score the rind, just like with the Parmesan cheese. So therefore, we have the scoring knife again. So then I immediately can tell you that the scoring knife is the knife in the whole set that is used the most. So that's because this is also used on other cheeses. Every cheese with a rind, you have to score with a hard rind, actually. So let's start score. So we begin at the, maybe I should close to the test mark. So you get the tip of it in the rind, and you will just pull it to here. And I can imagine you yelling, "Watch your fingers, oh please watch your fingers." But that's also why we have this little bump over here. So if you shoot out, you will hit this bump first, and it probably hurt, but it won't cut you with the sharp part. Also, it's good to lean on the cheese with that part without the whole knife touching the cheese. Less surface area. So then we only cut it a little bit, then we do the other way also. Like this, and I only go to here. So I've cut the cheese to, let's say, here, and not through the whole length. While I said with the Parmesan, you have to cut all the way around the cheese. That's because with the wire, if you start cutting with the wire, it can't get through the rind of the cheese. But once it's through there, it's easy. So you only have to do the first part. So then you will put the wire into the scored rind, and there we go. Put it to the back, and there we have it. Then you also see how smooth this cut is. So you don't have pieces dragged through. Well, a little bit, but that's because it's the nettle cheese with the little parts in it. But you can see how nice it is. It's not damaged, it's not torn apart, it's not, no pieces are pulled. Can you show this to the camera? So that is what cutting with a wire looks like.
Beautiful.
And with a knife, it would have sticking to the cheese, so you tear it apart a little bit, and that doesn't happen when you're cutting with a wire. So that's a big advantage of cutting with a wire. Now, Katie, I know you also have a CCP over there.
I do. I'm going to tilt my screen down. But actually, I think it's an excellent point that you made about it pulling things through and not being able to get through the hard rind of a Gouda. So because I'm in the UK, I've got a cheddar. And this is a cloth bound cheddar. And so if you can see, I've removed the cloth. If because again, any kind of cheesecloth on the outside of the cheese, the wire won't get through it. If you want to leave the cloth on, if you're cutting a whole 20 kilo cheddar in half, but you want to keep it on, you'll need to use a serrated knife to get through the cloth and score all the way around before cutting, or you just remove all of the cloth in one go. And I'm just going to demonstrate something that I think is also pertinent to the idea of the wire pulling things through. And hopefully this will work. It's quite strange not being able to see the screen now, but I think you can all, I did test this. You can all see my CCP and my piece of cheese
Yeah,
in my hand.
that's fine, Katie. That's fine.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
So what I see a lot of with mongers is putting their cheese on like this, which feels easier because you're going to cut really accurately down that middle. But if I were to cut this cheese this way, I'm going to pull all of that through the entirety of the cut face of the cheese. And this is the bit that everyone's touched. Some horrible little child that was bored waiting at your counter has poked and prodded it. This is the bit that potentially got something nasty on it, probably hasn't, but might have. But also anything that has been growing on that rind, you're going to introduce that to the cut surface of the cheese. And so even in a hard cheese, which they are relatively safe, you're creating a quality problem. And so it's always best practice when cutting, have the cheese this way. You want to minimize how much of that rind you're going to pull through the cheese. So whether it's cutting a whole cheese and you score first, or whether it's cutting a block like this and you always start with lining up the nose of the cheese with that line that the wire goes along. Yeah. One of the things I think somebody put in the chat about why wires are great is being able to cut accurately. Now, I have watched Dutch cheesemongers cut pieces of Gouda in the most amazing way using knives, and it's mind-blowing. I certainly can't. And so being able to cut a wedge of cheese is brilliant with the wire. And so you would keep that nose of the cheese lined up there to the trough where the wire goes. And again, what I see a lot of is people starting here and pulling that way. But if you go with the wire meeting the top of the cheese first, what will happen is as the wire comes up, you've got no control over where that's going to hit. And what you're going to end up with is wobbly lines, or you kind of cut a slightly off kilter bit, and you end up with those, you know, you get like a curved bit where you bring the wire up straight. I have to lean over so I can see what I'm doing. And have it join the bottom of the cheese first, then the top. Pull back a little way, then lay the wire down. And when Tom was demonstrating, he did it really nicely that you're going, obviously you don't want to elbow your colleague where they really don't want to be elbowed, but you're going to go down and back at the same time. I've got a slightly wobbly table. But the motion should be going in a diagonal line across your hip. You're not going down. This is going to end up really hurting you. And so I see an awful lot of cheesemongers pulling down like this. There's no need, and particularly with this handle, because it's got this, the handle rotates. And so you've got a full range of movement in your hand. And so bringing your arm down in a diagonal, so you come down at the same time as you go back, will help you avoid shoulder injuries, and you keep much, much better control of the cheese. And so here, you can see how fine an edge that's cut with.
Beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sharp as a knife.
Yeah. Cut my finger.
Perfect.
Cool. So,
Can you do one more cut for us?
yes, I will, of course. This is all going, I've got a massive cauliflower came in my veg box this morning, and I'm so excited about having an enormous block of cheddar to play with.
Cauliflower cheese for dinner.
Yeah. What I am also going to show then is how you can make so cutting cheeses down you could do really, really quickly. But what I want to show is how you can cut. So you can cut across the cheese like that. This is a really special cheddar.
It is.
Cheddar with blue
There's
veins.
a lot of bluing.
It is, yeah. And so again, when you've got a cheese that's been cut like this, where you've only got rind on the bottom of the cheese and on the back, don't be tempted to put it down this way. These boards are super easy to clean, but especially when you're in a busy shop, they're not going to get clean between each cheese that everybody cuts. So rind on the board. And then we line up. And because what can happen when you cut lots and lots of fairly small pieces of cheese, and it's something I'm sure all those of you that are cheesemongers will have endless customers saying, oh, just a quarter pound, just 100 grams. And you will cut lots and lots of small pieces of cheese. And what can happen if you're not careful is you don't cut to the nose. It's much easier to cut a small piece of cheese that way. But if I cut one piece like that, and that's great. My customer's super happy. They've got their piece of cheese. It's exactly the weight they wanted. So I should go a bit lower with that, shouldn't I? And then the next person comes along and they only want 100 grams as well. And so, oh yeah, well, look, that's really easy. I can just cut like that. Can you see how that piece of cheese has changed? And so you've got this perfect tool for cutting edges like that. So your customers should all be getting exactly the same size and shape of cheese, and just do it carefully. Line up where you want to cut, and sometimes I make a little mark with a paring knife, and then make sure the nose is lined up with the gap for the wire. Come up, meet it at the bottom, meet it at the top, back a little bit, then over the top of the cheese. Then you've got your little piece of cheese.
Lovely.
And then you can cut repeatedly 150, 200 gram pieces over and over again and never lose the integrity of the shape of the cheese.
Which you do at Christmas at the Courtyard Dairy.
I do,
How many
yes.
pieces of Kirkham's Lancashire did you cut in one morning?
In 3 days, I cut 1,500, 250 gram pieces of Lancashire cheese.
Amazing.
Records.
With one of these.
Guinness Book of Records, I think, for that. Well done. Brilliant. Tom, did you have a question for Katie? Sorry, we interrupted.
I have an addition because it's very good that you told about starting the cut from the tip, because if you won't, and as I told you, the best part of the cheese is the middle because it's ripened from the outside to the inside. And if you cut not from the middle, then in the end, one customer has the middle part, but you will move further away from the middle as more as you cut not from the middle. So then at the end, you get a piece like this, which you can't sell anymore because the whole piece is close to the rind. It's a strange shape. Nobody wants to buy that. And that's waste. So that's also why you have to cut from the middle of the cheese. So every customer gets the same experience from the cheese. The best part is in the middle. Everybody wants a bit of the best part. So that's very good to not cut with a, what is it? A blunt tip, I believe you call it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
Very good that you mentioned that you pull a bit to the, right over here, a little bit to the, well, down and to the back, but not like this, because like we saw in the comments, a broken wire can hurt you because you get a sharp tip. But if you do like this, then the wire will kink over here. And when a wire kinks, it breaks, always. That's the worst thing that can happen to a wire. So you have to try to have the wire in a straight line and not in a curve, but then it will break, and it always also will break the CCP when you cut like this down. So that's a very good tip. Yeah, and when you have cut your cheese and you see this and you start to smell the cheese and your customer sees the cheese for the first time, because now you can look inside the cheese. What do they want? I know what I want. I want to taste it, and as quick as possible. That's why a cheese cowboy always has this one. So when you want to try, you say, let's try. And we go. So you have the best part of the cheese, and you have your cheese plane. Or as we call it in Holland, the kaasschaaf. You grab it, then you say, here you go. Now you taste it. I know, Danique, you don't want to taste it, but you can act like you like it. So there actually are people at BOSKA that don't like to eat cheese.
Never, never.
Why is our cheese plane different than other cheese planes? Because there are a lot of different cheese planes. And the first one was made in, I can look there, 1925, actually. And it was in Norway. But why is this one so good? What you want when you taste cheese is have not only cheese in your mouth, but also air, because more air makes more taste. It works with each other. Oxygen, more oxygen with cheese makes more taste. So you therefore want very thin slices, so it can do like this in your mouth, and you have more air. Lovely, more taste. So this one has a little bit of a serration on the edge, and not too much, but a little bit, so you can create very thin slices. I saw something about the angle, maybe, or was it not? Yes, the angle. I saw the angle, and this has a very small angle, but if you want thicker slices, you can bend ours like this to make it a little bit thicker. Don't do it too much, but once if you want thicker slices. Then also it has this plane over here. We also have cheese slicers, oh, maybe not over here right now, but cheese slicers without the plane, and those are for very, very soft cheeses. Because if you have a cheese that sticks a lot to the blade, then you will also tear it apart. And that's a thing that happens a lot when people use the wrong cheese slicer. But this one does have a plane, and this is kind of a soft cheese, and it didn't break down cheese. Why? Well, this one is the Monaco Plus cheese plane. And this one is the Rolls Royce of the cheese planes. It has a diamond pattern on the plane. I don't know if you can see it. Can you show?
Yes, we can see it.
So,
oh yeah.
Now even better, it has a diamond pattern, which makes a bit of a structure. So the same with the holes in the universal knife, air gets underneath the cheese and it will not stick to the plane. Next to that, it has a BSF finish, which is the BOSKA surface finish. And well, that makes sure that the cheese doesn't stick to the plane. And that's why this one works the best. And no material is added for the finish. So there's no PFAS or chemicals in it. It's just the material itself. But the exact finish, I won't tell you, because that's the secret of the chef. But that's why this works the best. So you can let the customer taste it, and then the plane is there to serve the cheese. That's why you have to have the cheese plane in your belt next to the cheese tester. Oh, That was over here, next to the cheese tester. And then you also look cool. And when you look cool, people want to go to your store instead of that boring one on the corner of the street. Yeah, so now we have had this one, and then we go to the last bit of the tools I will show you. So here I have a piece of blue Stilton and a piece of Roquefort. And when you have soft cheeses, the blue Stilton actually is more of a crumbly cheese, but the Roquefort is softer. You also have the wire cutting bow. And as I told you, we have the universal knife, and the knives, they have the holes in it so it doesn't stick. But sometimes a cheese is so soft that also that knife sticks to the cheese. So it will tear the cheese apart a little bit and you won't have nice wedges. That's why there are Roquefort bows in, or you call it different. I have someone. We call it a bow. You call it?
Yeah, we call it a harp or a lyre.
A lyre, yeah.
Yeah, like the musical instrument.
I love, like Cupido.
Yeah, exactly.
When you cut cheese for Valentine's Day, you do like this.
Yes, that's the one.
Then shoot an arrow like this. Okay, so the lyre or the cheese bow is there to help you cut through really soft cheeses with to make nice wedges. So when you use this, you put it down and just also get to the middle of the cheese and just put it down like that. But now you can already see that something is happening. When I do it over here, oh, maybe you can't see. Well, it doesn't go through fully because when I push down, I can't go further than my cutting board. So it only went like this far, not fully. So that's why these also come with plates under, so they the cheese you stick through the cheese and you have like a searching for the word now, like a groove. You have a groove and you get into the groove, and that's why you cut through the whole cheese, dancing and singing. But there's another solution, and that's called this one. Ours is called the rock force, because you don't need that much force, but you still rock. With Roquefort. So the rock force has a couple of benefits from the cheese lyre, and then again, this is easier, but maybe this is more authentic, just like the knives for the Parmesan and the easier tools to cut a Parmesan. Because this one goes through a pipe, and it makes it always go straight down. Because if you haven't done this in a while or never, it's kind of hard to cut straight down in a straight line, and you will get a little wave of cheese. Because we have these rails over here, that doesn't happen, so you always go straight down. Then also we have a groove in here, so when you put it full down, it will be into the groove and it will end up below the cheese instead of at the bottom of the cheese, so you cut through the whole cheese. Then this one also has a spring, so it will go back automatically, and it will make you cut quicker. This one can go to the dishwasher. That's really easy, but it also has more grooves. And why is that? Well, some cheeses, like a Roquefort, are really moisty, and when you cut it, it can get a bit wet. So it has these grooves, so the moisture can go there and go a bit away from where you're cutting. Then this one has a blue dot, which means is for blue vein cheeses. We also have it with white dots, which you get with it for external white mold cheeses. So let's start cutting this one. I couldn't get fully through a couple of seconds ago, so I'll put it on there, and I exactly can see from the top where my wire is and where it will end up when I put it down. So I'm exactly in this piece now, and there we have it. An exact straight cut. Then again, this machine cuts with a wire. Wires are strong, not sharp. So when you have a Roquefort with an aluminium foil around it, it will pull the foil through the cheese. I see it's in the chat now, actually. I was about to say that. You were really, really sharp, like the scoring knife or like the universal knife. So I said the universal knife has the serrated edge, and there you can easily make an incision on the in the packaging, the aluminium packaging, and you cut it all the way around. And I already can hear you thinking, why not immediately cut through the whole cheese? Because you're already cutting, right? Well, this is one of those cheeses that even a universal knife, it will damage the structure of the cheese a little bit. It will pull it down, and you don't want that. Now I have to clean it first, so I have a little bit of paper over here. Getting there.
What Tommy was saying in the chat, I just used the Roquefort for the CMI Masters competition in New York City. It was a lifesaver for smaller geo goats and for softer blues. Comes with 2 plates. Are you the salesman, Tommy? One with white dot for blue meat and one blue dot for blue, so you can switch after sanitizing the wire. Wow, what an accolade. Fantastic. Well done.
Really?
Tommy's is a bit.
Like the first letters of your name, really. Great, thank you. Yeah, so I have now 2 blue cheeses. So I will quickly clean the wire. Yeah, now I have to get another one of this. Do not cross-contaminate. And of course, it's not good. Ah, I find it. So I have another one. Don't want to cross-contaminate. So it's on there. So now I have the Roquefort on there, and I made the incision in the aluminium foil with the universal knife with a serrated edge. And I can easily see where the wire is going. Now it's here. Put it down, back up, and we have this beautiful.
Perfect.
Look at that. That's beautiful, isn't it? Isn't it?
That is beautiful.
That's even better than mine.
Oh, is it?
Very
Do you like
lovely.
that one yet?
I think the other thing with the Roqueforts is it just looks cool. Like it looks really good on a counter.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you're cutting that, Tom, you hold the cheese in position, don't you? Well, when you push the wire down.
Yeah, now I did because it's already a bit high but small, so maybe it could fall over, but
Yeah, just keep a hand on that.
But when you have a bigger piece, it's actually not that necessary to hold the cheese. But now this part could tip over. It didn't, but it could, so I will just pull it apart and then put the wire up again.
It's a beautiful machine, like you say. A nice showpiece for the counter. We don't have many of them in the UK. Well, I haven't seen many. I don't know if anybody else is using one in the UK, but it just looks such a professional piece of kit.
Yeah, very good to hear. So if they are not that much in the UK, start buying them, and we have to start selling them. More of them in the UK. I love it.
We're going to start a trend. Start a trend.
Yes.
So we had a few questions in the chat, but it was around Cornish Yard, which is the British cheese. And Katie, I think you've answered those, haven't you? That we would prefer with the Cornish Yard, which is wrapped in nettle leaves or wild garlic leaves, and you would score those first.
Yeah.
Cool. So have we got any more questions for Tom? We're getting, oh, we've gone past our hour. Wow, how fast did that go? We're on 6 minutes past 7 already.
Oh no.
And oh, let me have a look. We've got another new message. Oh, everybody's asking each other questions in the chat. Tommy, I wanted to see very hard cheese getting cut. Beemster, Pave, Mimolette, which you would be using your wires for, or knives, your Parmesan knives for, palm set, wouldn't you?
Yeah, very, very hard cheeses. You can use the Parmesan set. You could use the cheese-o-matic, but then it's get tough because then you have to pull hard. But let me then quickly show to you if you have really, really, really hard cheeses. I'll grab it very quick and put it here.
He's gone. He's back. Thank you, Tom's just getting that ready. Thank you, everybody, for joining as well.
I have
John,
it.
you carry on demoing while I'm chatting away.
Yes. So here I have it, and this is we're currently working on.
Oh, that's a big boy.
It's used for Parmesan cheese actually, but this is also a wire cutting machine with a very thick wire. It's 0.8 millimeters thick, and it has a wire that goes on top. There's an axle on the bottom of here, and when you twist this handle, is around.
That is super cool.
If you have really hard cheeses like Parmesan, and this one is not as pretty yet as the other tools, but I'm working on that. So you will hear something sooner or later. You can actually cut it with this. I've seen a very, very small, blonde, beautiful girl cutting a whole Parmesan with this, just whistling. So again, wire, strong, not sharp. So I will have now I will score the rind on the top a little bit. And now this is not the hardest cheese you can get, but it's now the only one I have. And it won't go through a dummy. So you pull it down, put the wire right into that.
Yeah.
Groove.
So the handle is doing all the work.
Yes, I'm twisting on this side, and we'll just go through.
Whoa.
Like this.
Whoa.
Here you are. So then.
Do you reckon that'll go through Mimolette then?
Yes, I have tested it with Mimolette, and it does. But you have to put it right a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to have to stop you there. What an amazing talk and demonstration of all these tools and how to use them. Thank you ever so much. We didn't have time to do Tom's fantastic. He has 10 sales tips. So we will create another webinar around those and do the 10 sales tips for sure.
Yes.
We've got a few people asking about where to order. Where can we order in Romania? But they can contact us at the Academy and we can send on the details if we need. We know that in the UK we can buy them. Do you want to talk about that, Tom, or not?
Yeah, we have Nisbets, and we also have working with a new client, but I forgot the name. Thijs, are you still in the chat? Is Thijs still in the chat? I saw him.
I don't know if he is. Yes.
So,
So
Thijs,
I think
where can we buy in the UK? So waiting for Thijs' answer in the chat. Thijs is our BOSKA colleague from sales. He does export.
Amazon in the US, but we can direct people as well. So that's cool. But thank you, Katie, for joining us from Cumbria. You're an absolute superstar. Katie can answer any technical questions. And thank you, Tom, and your wonderful intern assistants.
Definite round of applause for Danny.
So Taisha's saying in the UK, available at Amazon and Nisbets at the moment. So that's cool.
And if you're somewhere else, we're happy to answer you if you want to buy it, and we, if necessary, we can tell you where.
I'm just so hungry now. I just want to eat the cheese. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to everyone for joining. You're all superstars. Keep mongering and smiling at the same time, and we'll see you next time. Thank you ever so much, everyone.
Thank you all for your presence.